So we're going to go into system configuration. So some information there about system V or system 5 as it should be called. Advantages and disadvantages. So LFS boot scripts. So let's go back to sources, extract LFS boot scripts. Right, yes, now I've got two here, haven't I? And I need to use the newer one. Oh yes, looks like the previous one was a year old actually. I thought it was only 2 days old. So it's good we've got the updated one. LFS boot scripts, right, sorry. Talking and thinking at the same time doesn't work. So make install, and that's done. Device and module handling, so there's some information about how it works now. And some useful reading. Managing devices, about network devices there, about how they get named, persistent naming. A script has been included to generate rules for custom new dev rules, so we can run that script. And if we look at this, it will tell us what the network has been called. It's been called ENO1, which is what Debian has used as well. So if I do IPA, you can see that it's got the same name. So that's all okay. It says there if something fails that there's some commands there you can do to get around that. Similar sort of thing with CD-ROMs if you've got more than one CD-ROM. And about putting references to the devices into etc/fs tab. And also as an important note there about USB connected drives, they might not respect the persistence because they can be allocated different locations on the USB bus depending what port they're plugged into. It tells you here how you can find those values. Yeah, there's the duplicate devices bit and how to deal with that. So, general network configuration. What we'll do is we'll create this file here. Now we need to change this because, as you saw, the reference I've got is ENO1, not ETH0. So I need to change that to ENO1 and change this as well. And I want to change the IP address to 0101 and the gateway. And you can get all this information off of your router if you don't know it already, or look at another machine for hints. Generally the broadcast will end in 255, the gateway will end in 1, and then the IP address should match the first three parts, should match the first three parts of the gateway and broadcast, generally speaking. So that should be sufficient. So if I now just cat that to inspect it manually, I'll put ENO1. that looks okay. etc resolve. So this is the name server. So if you haven't got a domain, you can leave that blank or just remove it, the line completely. I've got one called mynet.org, and the name server, I'll run my own name server, so I'll just put that address in. Otherwise you can put in any public name server or the name server IP that your router uses. I like to use one called, what's it called now? I can't remember again. Quad 9 it's called, which has a default address of 9.9.9.9. So I'll put that as a secondary one, which probably gets resolved via this address anyway, but if that fails, that machine fails for some reason, it's still a route to a name server. So press enter there, and again I'll just cat that to make sure it looks all okay. Yep. Now we've got to put in a host name, so I'll just call this LFS 12.4 or 12-4, and need to remember what we've called that because we'll be using that in a minute for the host file. And there it is. So just modify some of this. So the fully qualified domain name will be the host name, which is that bit there, plus the domain name, which is that bit there. And then, oops, need to just put in the host name there to complete that entry. So it just means that this address is equivalent to this address here. That's an alias for that address. Then, and basically, this line here, we need to put in the actual IP address. So I've picked 101 already in the definition for the interface card there. So I need to repeat that here, remove the chevrons, put the fully qualified domain name in again, together with the host name and any other aliases I want this machine to be known by, but there aren't any, so I'll just get rid of that. Oops. Okay, right, I need to edit that because I messed that up a bit. So let's edit etc hosts, and we're using our new Vim we built just a little bit earlier on. So I need to put that on a fresh line. In fact, I haven't got any IPv6 stuff, so I could, in theory, just remark these out. They're not necessary. System vboot usage, bootscript usage and configuration. So configuring sysv init. Just copy this init tab file in. And some information about the system clock and other bits and pieces. So if this machine is solely used as a Linux machine, you can just leave that as a 1. If you're sharing it, dual booting it with a Windows machine, you'll need to set that to 0 because Windows stores the local time in the hardware clock, not the UTC time or GMT time. But apart from that, shouldn't need to change anything else there. Configuring the Linux console. So what we need to do here is to copy one of these and modify it slightly. So let's use the let's use this one here as a template. And what I'll now do is edit that just to configure it for my own use. So what I need to do is to change the key map from, I believe that's Poland, to UK, put UK country code in, and the font is probably best being 1 for Western Europe and 88591-1 as well. Another thing worth adding here is log level equals 3 to suppress some of the kernel messages that may just appear on the console, which can be a little bit annoying sometimes. As it says, the default is 7, which is quite verbose, so I found 3 is quite a reasonable compromise. So I can save that. And move on to configuring the system locale. So right, yeah, we've got all these set up here because these were required for tests. The two main ones I'd be using are these two here. And you can find out what the canonical name is by putting this command in here and inserting one of these locales in that place. So I would like to use this one by default, so I'll put that in there, and it responds ISO-8859-1, and I can do similar things to find out the language, the currency symbol, and so on. And that information is useful to put into this profile configuration file. So all I need to do is to rub out all of this and put in ENGB, because that's the prefix where it had LL_CC, full stop, and then the result of that command, which is the output from that. And oh yes, I'm not sorry, I thought it was in VIA there for a moment. So press enter. I can actually edit that if I wanted to. etc profile, and it looks a bit nicer than just displaying on the screen. It's highlighted various aspects of the file, so that's okay. etc input RC, again I can just copy and paste this. Sometimes I do add some, if it's a machine I'm going to keep, I do add in some extra commands there which you may have seen in other videos, but for this machine, which is a one-off, I'm not going to make any changes to that. etc shells to tell the system what shells are available, and that should be the end of the configuration.